Well, Donald Trump is president again. He was sworn in Monday during an inauguration held within the U.S. Capitol, ceremony attended by literally the wealthiest people on the planet. Four of the richest people on earth were there, including Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, and Mark Zuckerberg. Three men, along with other tech CEOs like Sundar Pichai from Google and Tim Cook from Apple, were all given prominent seats on the inauguration stage, pushing elected Republican officials like Governors Ron DeSantis and Brian Kemp to overflow rooms to watch the proceedings. That's because many of those tech CEOs cut big checks to Trump's election efforts and his inauguration committee. But these are the heads of Twitter, Google, and Facebook, and the guy who started Amazon. Basically, the people who control most of the information media in the United States, seated directly behind President Trump's family. Better seats than Trump's own cabinet got on the inaugural stage. In case there's still any doubt who the president intends to serve, or any doubt that 4 years of MAGA world raging against tech overlords was just a branding exercise. Other freak shows on that stage include UFC president and wife abuser Dana White, podcaster Joe Rogan, and Argentina's president Javier Milei, who is partying in Washington while roughly half of his country languishes in poverty. Trump is poised to give the oligarchs on that stage with him massive tax cuts and sweeping deregulation in the coming weeks. Republicans in Congress are drafting that reconciliation bill to do it right now. But ahead of the inauguration, Trump found another way to redistribute wealth upward to the rich, or in this case, upward to himself and his inner circle. Yes, in a breathtaking ethical breach, even by Trump's own standards, the president spent the weekend before his swearing in running a pump and dump crypto scam on his supporters that netted him and his cronies tens of billions of dollars. Not only that, amid the scheme, he also had his wife do the same thing. Both the Trump coin and Melania coin have since crashed from their peak values. As of this recording, Trump coin is trading at about $38, well off its $75 high just 2 days ago, which means if you bought it 2 days ago, you're underwater. Same with the Melania coin, which is now trading at below $5. It peaked at just under $14 a few days ago. Meme coins are probably the most volatile thing you can invest in. Even the most successful meme coin of all time, Dogecoin, lost 90% of its peak value. While the arc of a meme coin could be long, it always bends toward zero. And when it does, it's the suckers who got in too late, believing in the hype, that get stuck holding an empty bag. For example, Barstool's dipshit owner, Dave Portnoy, admitted he lost $200,000 speculating on the Melania coin. And if a rich guy like him can be turned into a sucker, what do you think is happening to the rest of Trump's base? The only people making huge amounts of money off these shit coins are those who had the tokens at the ground floor, which are a couple of LLCs related to Trump. So the president of the United States is doing the exact same thing that the Hawk Tuah girl did a few weeks ago when she launched a meme coin and got rich by rug pulling investors. She hasn't been seen or heard from since because her fans turned on her for it. In Trump's case, his supporters will just keep lapping it up. Although his supporters in crypto land are pretty pissed about this, many have come forward to criticize the meme coin launches as undermining the credibility of the industry, which is funny because the industry has no credibility, and there actually is no distinction between meme coins that are subject to wild speculation and supposedly safer crypto assets like Bitcoin that are also subject to wild speculation. That's why crypto leaders are actually upset that, and they feel like they missed out on this pump and dump scheme. Trump's foray into their space over the weekend exposed it for what it really is, a grift industry. Even the pastor who performed at Trump's inauguration got in on the grift. Just a few hours after Pastor Lorenzo Sewell recited his prayers on stage, he went on Twitter and announced the debut of the Lorenzo coin.
I need you to do me a favor and go and get that coin in order for us to accomplish the vision that God has called us to do in our earth.
Yeah, we got pastors running crypto scams in Trump's America now. We're off to the races. After assuming office, Trump wasted little time signing executive orders that will harm millions of people living in the US and billions across the world. Not even joking. Trump signed orders pulling the US out of the Paris Climate Agreement and declaring an energy emergency. Here he was discussing his plans to supercharge global warming.
Today, I will also declare a national energy emergency. We will drill, baby, drill. And we have something that no other manufacturing nation will ever have, the largest amount of oil and gas of any country on earth, and we are going to use it. Let me use it. We will bring prices down, fill our strategic reserves up again, right to the top, and export American energy all over the world. We will be a rich nation again, and it is that liquid gold under our feet that will help to do it.
The new president then went on to sign executive orders repealing a host of Biden-era environmental regulations, including a provision to accelerate electric vehicle development. While moving to expand offshore oil and gas drilling, Trump ordered all offshore wind leases to be halted. This would be like prescribing a patient dying of lung cancer 4 packs of cigarettes to smoke a day. In his inauguration speech, Trump also laid out a vision for imperial conquest, undermining his prior claims of being a peace president.
And above all, China is operating the Panama Canal, and we didn't give it to China, we gave it to Panama, and we're taking it back. The United States will once again consider itself a growing nation, one that increases our wealth, expands our territory, builds our cities, raises our expectations, and carries our flag into new and beautiful horizons. And we will pursue our manifest destiny into the stars, launching American astronauts to plant the stars and stripes on the planet Mars.
A nation that expands its territory, manifests destiny from the Panama Canal to Mars. Of course, we're not actually going to Mars. Trump just put that line in his speech as a favor to Elon Musk, who can continue growing his personal wealth, spreading the lie that we're going to Mars. We might actually be invading Panama, though. The president also signed an executive order declaring Mexican drug cartels to be foreign terrorist organizations, a designation Trump can later use to unilaterally conduct military operations against Mexico. In fact, when asked about it by a reporter, he didn't rule that out.
President Trump, if cartels are now going to be seen as foreign terror organizations, would you think about ordering U.S. Special Forces into Mexico to take them out?
Could happen. Stranger things have happened.
Stranger things have happened, he says. Yep, to that end, Trump also signed an executive order to begin the process to rename the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. Other actions taken by the 47th president on day one include repealing Biden regulations aimed at prohibiting discrimination in the workplace, lowering drug prices, and advancing racial equality. Trump also ended work-from-home arrangements for federal employees and implemented a regulatory and hiring freeze until all his appointees can be installed at various agencies. He also ordered all federal agencies to recognize only 2 genders, a move that will lead to immediate discrimination against transgender Americans in federal facilities. Trump also withdrew the United States from the World Health Organization. He gave TikTok more time to find a U.S. buyer before it's banned. and he granted clemency to over 1,500 January 6th riot defendants, basically establishing that assaulting police officers is actually okay now, which perhaps is the one decent thing Trump did on his first day in office. But the main thrust of Trump's executive actions on day one were directed at immigration, at laying the groundwork for his mass deportation campaign. In an extraordinary move, Trump suspended the 14th Amendment of the Constitution, declaring an end to birthright citizenship. And if you're saying he can't do that, I agree, but the only check against him doing that is the Supreme Court, where he has carefully cobbled together a 6-3 conservative majority, and we'll see if the justices he appointed are willing to tell him no on this extremely consequential policy. Trump declared an emergency at the southern border, claiming the U.S. is subject to a, quote, invasion. He ordered a halt to the acceptance of any new refugees for 4 months. He reinstated a Remain in Mexico policy that bars asylum seekers from stepping foot in the U.S. and requires them to remain in Mexico until their claims can be heard. And the Trump administration canceled the CBP One app. That's the digital portal set up by the Biden White House for migrants to schedule appointments to have their asylum claims heard. It was a buggy, hard-to-use app, but over 1 million migrants used it to secure appointments to enter the U.S., quote-unquote, legally. Individuals who had been waiting months for their appointment were just notified on Monday that their appointment was canceled. Trump then ordered the U.S. military to provide troops at the southern border and to begin constructing detention spaces to house migrants to be deported. And Trump's mass deportation plans received a boost on his first day in office when a dozen Democratic senators joined Republicans to pass the Laken-Riley Act, a radical anti-immigration bill that strips migrants of due process and empowers the most reactionary state officials in the country to dictate federal immigration law. The bill, once signed by Trump, could be a key legal authority underpinning his deportation campaign. 12 Democratic senators who supported it are Catherine Cortez Masto, Jackie Rosen, Ruben Gallego, Maggie Hassan, Jeanne Shaheen, Mark Kelly, John Ossoff, Raphael Warnock, Gary Peters, Alyssa Slotkin, Mark Warner, and John Fetterman, who, by the way, wore a hoodie and basketball shorts to Trump's inauguration, which would be endearing if not for all the genocide and human rights abuses this guy regularly votes for. Scumbag ogre. Speaking of genocide, the ceasefire in Gaza is holding barely, despite numerous violations of it by the Israeli military. Aid is trickling into the war-torn enclave, though not at the necessary levels yet. Trump boasted about securing the hostage deal in Gaza, but did not mention anything about a lasting ceasefire. In fact, when asked by reporters if he was confident that the ceasefire would hold, he said he wasn't.
How confident are you, Mr. President, that you can keep the ceasefire in Gaza and conclude the 3 phases of this deal?
I'm not confident. That's not our war, it's their war, but I'm not confident.
Well, you can say it's not our war, it's their war, but we are funding and arming that war, so it is kind of our war. And according to reporting from Reuters, Trump intends to keep funding and arming the war. He lifted the pause imposed by President Biden on the delivery of 2,000-pound bombs to Israel, and he's also reversing sanctions on extremist Israeli settlers. Netanyahu has stated that he has assurances from Trump to continue the war in Gaza after phase 1 of the ceasefire ends. One last thing to note about Trump's first day in office. There will be no tariffs yet. Instead of imposing import taxes as he promised to do on day one, Trump has ordered agencies to just study tariff policy. Trump's tariff threats could shock the U.S. economy in the short term, and transnational corporations oppose them. But they could have long-term benefits for U.S. workers. UAW President Sean Fain even wrote an op-ed in the Washington Post over the weekend endorsing Trump's tariff policy. Fain wrote, quote, Trump has promised to enact tariffs to protect workers, and we agree that tariffs are a necessary tool. As long as corporations can ship jobs out and ship products in at rock bottom rates without penalty, they will continue doing so. We agree that we need a strong system of tariffs that serve the national and working class interests. So I guess we shouldn't be surprised that when it really came down to it, Trump is abandoning tariffs for now and siding with big business over labor. So that was day one of Trump's second term. I didn't even mention yet the world's richest man hyping up the Trump crowd at the Capital One Center in Washington ahead of the inauguration parade by doing not one, but two Nazi salutes. Yeah, it's pretty clear what Elon Musk is doing there. He later tried to deny it, and his supporters rushed to his defense. For example, hack columnist Batya Ungar-Sargon claimed on Twitter, quote, "Elon Musk is a friend to Jews. This is a man with Asperger's exuberantly throwing his heart to the crowd. We don't need to invent outrage." Yeah, right. It was just the Asperger's, and not at all related to Musk spending the last few years incessantly sharing Nazi memes online, promoting the neo-Nazi German political party AfD, and turning Twitter into a revenue stream for Nazis. The Anti-Defamation League, which purports to be the leading group combating anti-Semitism in America, but is actually just a far-right influence organization that makes Jews less safe around the world, defended Musk's Nazi salute by claiming it was just, quote, an awkward gesture and a moment of enthusiasm. This is the same group that has viciously attacked members of Congress like Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib, calling them anti-Semites just for criticizing members for taking money from AIPAC. But when the world's richest man is promoting neo-Nazi parties in Germany and doing Roman salutes, the group says, nothing to see here. Trump declared yesterday a golden age of America. That's how he's describing all the crypto scams and Nazi salutes. Hey, thanks for watching. Hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any of our new videos. Also, if you want to see Means Morning News in its complete form, not just the clips we post here, head on over to Means TV and get access to all our new episodes and our entire backlog, plus tons of other great movies and original TV shows.